For my service learning, I worked with the Military Museum in Saratoga Springs, New York by transcribing an interview of Robert L. Cahill. The perceived cost of doing this service learning was not studying for one of my micro tests, and the huge cost that I faced was time. Not having enough time with friends, family, doing other homework, relaxing, and while playing basketball, my time started to become very slim. The perceived benefits is using time before work or practice to eat and get ready. There's 15 points on my average, and by getting my service learning over with so I can have more time later on in the semester to worry about grades and my other classes that I need more help in. The demand in my service learning was demand for food. The military demanded more food and supplies, which took away from the citizens. Robert received rations in prison camp. German guards took potatoes from farms that they passed. Prisoners traded food and cigarettes. Robert lost more than 50 pounds while he was captured. On Robert's second mission, his plane was shot down and he was captured and became a prisoner of war. Because of this, he lost 50 pounds because the amount of food that they got was very slim to none. The risk that Robert received was that when his plane got shot down, he had to jump out of the airplane. And as soon as they jumped out of the airplane, Robert had to make sure that he didn't pull a chute too soon so the enemy didn't see him. But Robert was more concerned about making sure that his parachute actually worked, that as soon as he jumped out of the plane, he pulled his chute. The Germans took the chance of life by telling Robert that they knew all of the answers to the questions that they asked him when he got captured, when actually there was only a 50% chance of them actually getting the information that they wanted. And I compared this to how Mr. Stannard bet a classmate $1 about flipping a coin, and in both cases, neither men got what they wanted. The cause and effect that I saw during my service learning was that Robert told us how one of the other prisoners wasn't changing fast enough for the guards, so they ended up getting thrown out a door, and this caused Robert to change faster than the rest of the prisoners in the camp. And then the huge effect after World War II was the health conditions that these prisoners of war faced. Many of them faced PTSD, and because of that, they were unable to work, and the unemployment rose crazy among prisoners of war. And because of that, a couple years later, a mandatory physical exam for prisoners of war was created by Congress to check up on these prisoners because during World War II there was no medical records. The entrepreneurship that I saw in my service learning was the Purple Heart. The meaning of the Purple Heart was changed. The Purple Heart at the beginning was that you had to bleed to get awarded the Purple Heart, but because of the Bosnian Civil War, there were men that received the Purple Heart that did not bleed, but they were prisoners of war. And because of this, a lot of World War II veterans that were prisoners of war and a lot of Vietnam vets, they started to cause an issue because they should have been awarded the Purple Heart. So the Purple Heart was changed, so you do not have to bleed to get awarded the Purple Heart, and because of that, a lot of prisoners of war began to receive the Purple Heart. Thank you.